بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تبارك وتعالى والذاريات ذروا فالحاملات وقرا فالجاريات يسرا فالمقسمات أمرا صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد كلما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد كلما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. We begin our Tafseer tonight from the beginning of chapter 51, Surah Al-Dhariyat. This is a moment of gratitude that Allah has enabled us to come to this closing of Juz 26. We're about to close this chapter with the beginning of Surah Al-Dhariyat. Half of it, almost half of it is part of Juz 26, and then the remaining will be part of Juz 27. We're getting closer towards the completion of Quran, inshallah, in our weekly tafsir of Quran. Surah Al-Dhariyat is a Meccan chapter, and as its predecessor, it very closely matches in its content, in its theme, and in its message with the previous chapter, Surah Qaf, and also the succeeding chapter, which is going to be Surah At-Tur. In this surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us of the people of heaven and the people of hell. Who are the people of heaven? And what will happen to them? What will they be entitled to when they enter into Jannah? And what earned them that place in Jannah? What have they done to deserve their place in Jannah? Everyone who will enter into Jannah, may Allah make all of us amongst them, will do so based on primarily the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the main primary factor in someone's admission into Jannah. But then there will always be something that earned them that place in Jannah, that earned them their admission into Jannah. And it could be something very small, something that we may not even think as a good deed. And the example that we can look at is the example that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave of a woman from previous nations. A woman who was not only a bad woman in terms of her character, but she was actually the cause of fitna, as she was the source of a lot of wrongdoing. A lot of people were able to do wrong because of her. So that woman, one day, she was getting water from the well. It was a hot and humid day, so she was thirsty and she was getting water from the well. And after she got water for herself, she saw a dog that was also very thirsty. And so she felt sorry for that dog. Now the dog is not smart enough, is not capable of fetching water from the well. The dog doesn't have the ability to throw down a bucket into the well and get water for himself so it can drink. But if the dog jumps into the well, it cannot come out. It will die. So there's no good option for the dog. So the dog is solely dependent on someone else to get water from the well so it can drink it. So this woman, she felt sorry for this dog, and she didn't have anything either to get water from there, a bucket or something like that. So what she did, she lowered her shoe into the well using her scarf that she had in her neck or whatever, around her neck. She tore that scarf into pieces to make it long enough into a string, and then she lowered that into the well, and then she got water and she gave that water to that dog. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, because of that, Allah forgave her. Now, I'm sure that this woman never even thought that this was a good deed that she was doing. She probably just felt sorry for the dog, and out of some empathy and mercy in her heart, she gave water to the dog. But Allah loved that so much that Allah forgave her and admitted her into Jannah. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says to us, "La tahqiranna min al-ma'ruf shay'a." Do not ever belittle any good deed. Don't underestimate the power of a good deed, even if it is something as small as greeting your brother with a smiley face. وَلَوْ أَن تَلْقَى أَخَاكَ بِوَجْهٍ طَلِقٍ. Just greeting your brother with a smile puts a smile on his face. He feels special that he greeted me so well. He welcomed me so well with open arms. He embraced me with open arms. So he felt better, and you became the source of that and the cause of that, and Allah loves that. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that even that small little good deed could play a huge role in your admission into Jannah. وَلَوْ أَن تَلْقَى أَخَاكَ بِوَجْهٍ طَلِقٍ. So never underestimate the power of a good deed. Do not belittle any good deed, whether you are picking up something from the walkway, or you are cleaning the masjid, or you are opening the door for an elderly person, a disabled person, or helping someone carry their groceries, load their groceries into their car, or unload their groceries from their car, carrying it to their doorstep, whatever. Something very small could have a major role in your redemption with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this surah, we will learn some of that, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will share with us the story of the people of Lut alayhi salam again, the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, the angels visiting him, and him going out of his way to slaughter a calf and then roasting the meat for the angels, not knowing that they were angels. But Ibrahim alayhi salam was known for his utmost hospitality, and Arabs generally inherited that. Not so distant in the past, there was no concept of hotels, at least in Arab culture. People would go to the village if they were travelers, and they would just find a home. Not so distant in the past, there was no concept of hotels in Mecca. People who would come to Mecca to perform Umrah or to perform Hajj, they would just have their tents over there or find accommodation somewhere. They wouldn't have these 5-star hotels, Abraj Al Bayt complex, Hilton and Marriott and Doubletree and Swiss Royal, and all these fancy hotels that cost so much. Per night, you could be spending $500, $1,000. Sometimes you're spending $2,000 a night just for a room that you're not going to use. You're not going to Mecca to sleep. You're not going to Mecca to stay in your room. You're going to Mecca to be in Haram, to be near the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be in Tawaf, to be in Sa'i, to be in prayer, to be in salah, to be in Masjid al-Haram. You are going to go there to spend most of your time in the ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because as a visitor, that is the purpose of your visit. That is the goal of your visit. If your goal is to just relax, then go to a resort, go somewhere else where you have a swimming pool, you have barbecue and all of that. Go over there. But if you're going to Makkah, your primary goal is to spend as much time as you can in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in the past, people would come from all over the world, and they wouldn't have any hotels. Instead, they would either be hosted by the locals, so the locals would generously host them. Even in today's economy, in today's environment, there are locals who are very generous and who are happy to host people. But the system is built in such a way now that line of access has almost been cut off intentionally and deliberately. That line of access doesn't exist. And you can also see a glimpse of their hospitality when you are in Makkah or when you are in Medina, even on regular days. This is throughout the year. If you're there on a Monday or Thursday, people are fasting, alhamdulillah, in large numbers. And if you happen to be inside the masjid, in Masjid al-Haram or in Masjid al-Nabawi at the time of iftar, even if you're not fasting, Arabs will be coming to you, the natives, the locals of Makkah and the locals of Medina. They bring a lot of qahwa, a lot of coffee, a lot of tea, a lot of dates, yogurt, bread, and all of that. They bring it into the masjid just to offer it to the fasting people. Now, even if you're not fasting, they'll be begging you, please come here, please come here. And in the month of Ramadan, they're fighting with each other. The hosts are fighting over the people. One person is being dragged on two sides. On one side, there's one brother who said, please, you have to come here. And on the other side, there's other brother, he wants him on that side. So now he has to choose between the two brothers who just want to host him and just want to feed him and have the honor and the reward of feeding a fasting person. This is the hospitality. In other cultures, you're on your own. In other cultures, you have to not only provide for yourself, but if someone comes at that time, you get annoyed. No, not this time. Not at the time of iftar. Come at a different time when I'm not busy about my own iftar. So you tell them, please come later. There is no spirit of hospitality. There is no spirit of diyafa. So Arabs basically inherited this from their ancestor, from Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was known for his hospitality, his spirit of hospitality, and he passed it down to his progeny, his children. Even Ishaq alayhi salam and his progeny, they were known for their hospitality. But Ismail alayhi salam and his offspring, they were known for their enthusiasm and their spirit of hospitality. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of the story of Lut alayhi salam, followed by the story of Musa alayhi salam briefly. And then in closing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us again, Inna Allah huwa ar-razzaq dhul quwwatil mateen, that indeed it is Allah who's the ultimate provider. It is Allah who's the ultimate sustainer. No one sustains without the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is Allah alone who's the sustainer. It is Allah alone who's a provider. وَالذَّارِيَاتِ ذَرْوًا, I swear by the winds that scatter the dust. Al-Dhariyat is a reference to the winds that scatter the dust. If there is moisture in the environment, then these winds, they carry the water, they carry the burden, they carry the load, and then they bring it down in the form of rain. It's primarily the winds that are pushing the clouds, and these winds are so fast that these storms that we witness every now and then, the storm within a few hours of period, it will travel the distance between Florida and Rhode Island, which is about 1,200 miles. But within a few hours, it will travel that distance. These winds are faster than the speed of jet. Here on Earth, we have hurricanes, which there are category 5 hurricanes, 4, 3, 2, 1. But category 5 hurricane is classified as 200 miles per hour sustained wind hurricane, which is very deadly and devastating. It causes so much large-scale destruction when we see winds at that speed. Imagine if you were on the surface of Neptune. Neptune is an icy giant. It's a huge planet, but according to the scientists, the wind speed on that planet is in excess of 2,000 miles per hour. Imagine what kind of force that carries, 2,000 miles per hour wind speed. And that's probably just a fraction of what we could possibly see elsewhere in our own solar system or elsewhere within our own galaxy or within our own universe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. But on Earth, these winds have so much to do. They are commanded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They carry different things from one place to another. They bring rain. فَسُقْنَاهُ إِلَى بَلَدٍ مَيِّتٍ فَأَحْيَيْنَا بِهِ الْأَرْضَ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. Through these winds, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises the clouds with rain from the ocean. And that cloud is carrying this huge load of water, which will come down as rain from the sky. And it will be moved from one place to another. How easy it is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to transfer water from one part of the earth to the other. Imagine if we had to transfer water from Florida to Rhode Island. How expensive it would be for us, how hard it would be for us, and how difficult it would be for us to bring water from there. It's hard for us to bring a 36 bottle pack from Walmart or from Stop and Shop to our house. We have to carry. You know how much weight that is in those 36 bottles of water? Imagine if we had to carry water continuously from Florida or from California or from Hawaii or some other place far away. We would be done. We would be destroyed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala effortlessly brings the water from there and brings it here. If the rain stops, our reservoirs begin to dry out, and then we begin to sound alarms. Oh, we may have a drought, we may have a problem, we may have a water shortage, we may have to ration water and things like that. So we begin to panic if the rain stops. But with the rain, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings that water here to us, and it's in its purest form. The purest form of water is the water that comes down with the rain. It is already gone through filtration, all the filtration, because primarily it is the water that is collected in vapor from the ocean. And ocean has salty water. You and I cannot drink that water. If you drink even a sip of that water, you'll spit it out because you cannot drink that water. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes the salt from that water, purifies it, runs it through filtration that is built into the clouds, and once it comes down on the ground, it is in its purest form, that water. It is filtered, it is natural, it is organic, and it has all the qualities, all the minerals that we depend on. And nothing harmful is there in that water. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings it that through these clouds which are moved by the winds. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses that wind. I swear by the winds that scatter the dust. فَالْحَامِلَاتِ وِقْرًا. And I swear by those winds that bear the loads of heavy weights, that bear the loads of clouds. So these clouds are filled with water, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continuously moves them from one place to another. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is swearing by these things? Because they are so powerful. They are a sign in itself for the humanity, if someone reflects on that. فَالْجَارِيَاتِ يُسْرًا, and the ships that float with ease. How easily these massive ships. I was reading about these oil tankers, these massive oil tankers that could have 350,000 gallons, or sometimes 1 million gallons, 2 million gallons, 3 million gallons in its belly, and they are moving flawlessly in this ocean. They're floating flawlessly, and most of the oil that is moved around the world. Do you know there are few places that produce oil, that refine oil, that have oil refineries and all of that, but cars are everywhere. There is no country on earth that doesn't have cars, and all cars need gasoline. All cars need diesel, petrol, or these fuels. So these fuels are primarily transported through these oil tankers. These oil tankers, they take the crude oil from one place, they take it to the other place, to the other port where they get refined. And then from there, it gets loaded again onto the tankers, and then it's transported to some other place. And you know, most of the time, these massive oil tankers, they're used as storage places too. It's actually cheaper to keep the oil in these oil tankers than to bring them on a facility on land and then store them over there, store the oil over there, because it's more expensive to use a storage facility on ground rather than a storage facility in the ocean, which is in form of an oil tanker. So how easily they sail, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala points that out as a sign as well. فَالْجَارِيَاتِ يُسْرًا, the ships that float with ease. فَالْمُقَسِّمَاتِ أَمْرًا, and I swear by the angels that distribute and apportion the commands. So angels bring down the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they act accordingly. إِنَّمَا تُوعَدُونَ لَصَادِقٌ, verily that which you are promised is true. Whatever you are being told will happen. It is true. It's a very powerful statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though it's very simple and easy to understand, but it's very powerful and profound, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, whatever you are being promised is true. That's how simple it is. Simple statement, but powerful. That everything that you're being told about Jannah, about Jahannam, about the blessings in hell, about blessings in heaven, about the punishments in hellfire, about the grave, about the life after death, about the prophets, about the angels, about the books of Allah, all of those things are true. Whatever you are being promised is true. And another meaning of this could be, whatever you are being warned against is also true. You're being warned not to disobey Allah. You're being warned not to rebel against the commands of Allah. You are being warned not to disbelieve in the day of judgment, in the life after death, in hell, in heaven. So take the warning seriously, because those warnings are true. There is no exaggeration in those warnings. وَإِنَّ الدِّينَ لَوَاقِعٌ, and verily judgment and justice must indeed come to pass. This will happen. There's no doubt about that there will be a day of judgment, and on that day of judgment there will be judgments and justice that will come to pass. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُكِ, I swear by the sky with numerous paths. The sky that has paths in it. We didn't know about this in the past, even though birds have always followed their own tracks, their own paths in the sky. But now we come to know that even the airlines that are flying, the airplanes that are flying in the air, and at any given time, there are thousands of airplanes in the sky. Those airlines and those airplanes, they're actually following a path. There's a highway that they are following. And they can neither deviate from that. They're given a certain altitude. They have to stay at that. There's a very little room they're given to go up and down with that altitude. If there's a weather turbulence, if there's a air pocket or something like that, then they're given permission to go around that weather pocket, or go above that weather pocket, or go beneath that weather pocket. But generally, they have to stick to that. Last week, I think it was Iceland Air or no, not Southwest. It was a European carrier, and there were two different flights of that carrier. I don't remember. So it was going from the airport in Iceland. I think it's Reykjavik. So the flights were going from there to London Heathrow, and they went over the North Pole, and near the North Pole they happened to see the Northern Lights, or it is scientifically it's called Aurora Borealis. So the pilot witnessed Aurora Borealis. So a pilot, he wanted to treat the passengers. So there was one side of the plane that was able to see those lights, and it's a treat to be able to see those northern lights. It's beautiful. Those are also called the dancing lights. So the pilot decided to make a 360 in the air, and you can see that on the flight path of that airplane and the other airplane as well. These two pilots, they were flying at nighttime, so they came across this patch of the sky where they could see the northern lights, or the Aurora Borealis. So the pilot decided to do a 360. He just went around. So everyone in the plane, on both sides of the windows, they could see the lights and they could get happy. So when the flight landed, it was already reported to the airline that the pilots did that. Generally, so the airline came out with the statement, and it said, generally we don't allow that because it is against the rules of aviation to make your own, detours in the sky. You have to stick to the route that is given to you, even if it is a longer route. Sometimes it has happened to me as well. I'm sitting in the plane coming from Saudi Arabia or coming from the Middle East, and the pilot is given the longer route. The shorter route may take 11 hours from Jeddah to New York or Jeddah to Boston, but the longer route takes 13, sometimes over 14 hours. So the pilot, he was speaking to the passengers, and he's like, we have been given a very long route. We are negotiating with the control tower, but they're not listening. They said, you have to stick to this route. And the pilots cannot deviate from that. So they have to stick to the route that is given to them. And these are the flight paths in the sky, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has referred to, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُبِ. Now these are for us. But naturally there are these flight paths for the jet streams. The jet stream has its own path, has its own track. It always stays at that. And there are different levels of these tracks in the sky. Like on the earth, sometimes you go through these passovers. You go through these bridges. There's one bridge on the bottom, another bridge on top of that, another bridge on top of that, another bridge on top of that. There are like 4, 5, 6 different bridges connecting different highways and going above each other. So in the sky, we have same thing as well. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to that, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْحُبُبِ. I swear by the sky which has paths and numerous paths. إِنَّكُمْ لَفِي قَوْلٍ مُخْتَلِفٍ. Now we come to the main content and the main subject of this surah, which is, surely you are lost in conflicting views regarding the truth. You have confusion regarding the truth because falsehood has a lot of attraction and it has a lot of appeal. يُؤْفَكُ عَنْهُ مَنْ أُفِكْ. Only those destined to be deluded are turned away from it. Those who are meant to go away, they get deviated and they get deluded from the truth. قُتِلَ الْخَرَّاسُونَ. Condemned are the liars. Woe to the falsehood mongers. الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي غَمْرَةٍ سَاهُونَ. Those who are drowned in ignorance and they are forgetful. يَسْأَلُونَ أَيَّانَ يَوْمُ الدِّينِ. They ask, when shall be the day of judgment and justice? يَوْمَهُمْ عَلَى النَّارِ يُفْتَنُونَ. It will be a day when they will be tried and tested over the fire. ذُوقُوا فِتْنَتَكُمْ. Taste your trial. هَذَا الَّذِي كُنْتُمْ بِهِ تَسْتَعْجِلُونَ. This is what you used to ask to be hastened. إِنَّ الْمُتَّقِينَ فِي جَنَّاتٍ وَعُيُونٍ. Surely the pious and righteous will be in gardens and in springs. آخِذِينَ مَا آتَاهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ. Joyfully they will be receiving what their Lord will grant them. Happily they will be receiving from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what hospitality they will be offered, the fruits that will be they will be offered, the palaces that they will be offered, the pleasure that they will be offered. They will be receiving it joyfully. إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ مُحْسِنِينَ. Why not? Because these people were the ones who were good before. Back home, back on earth, they were the ones who were the righteous doers. They were the ones who had a good life. كَانُوا قَلِيلًا مِنَ اللَّيْلِ مَا يَهْجَعُونَ. They were in the habit of sleeping but little by night. They would remain in ibadah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at night, in salah, in qiyam, in tilawa. وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. And in the morning, in the hours of early dawn, they were found praying for forgiveness. Asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness at the end of ibadah is a very important practice. When we finish our salah, we say Allahu Akbar, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah, Astaghfirullah. Even though we have just finished the most important worship, which is salah, we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us because we are always flawed and we're always falling short in our expectations. Whatever Allah expected of us, we will always fall short of that. So therefore we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive our shortcomings. وَفِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. And these are the people, the righteous people, in whose wealth there is right for a beggar, for the one who's coming and asking for help, who solicits, and the one who's prevented, the one who's thrown away from other people and other places. وَفِي الْأَرْضِ آيَاتٌ لِلْمُوقِنِينَ. And even in earth there are signs for those people who have assured their faith. وَفِي أَنفُسِكُمْ أَفَلَا تُبْصِرُونَ. And even in yourselves there are signs. So will you not see those signs in your own self? وَفِي السَّمَاءِ رِزْقُكُمْ وَمَا تُوعَدُونَ. And in heaven is your sustenance, as also that which you are promised. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Any questions? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك العفو والعافية والمعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين. اللهم استر عوراتنا وآمن روعاتنا اللهم احفظنا من بين أيدينا ومن خلفنا وعن يميننا وعن شمالنا ومن فوقنا وأن نغتال من تحتنا. رضينا بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم رسولا ونبيا. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلق محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. But you don't go there for buffet.
And the other thing is, when you do a good deed, it's not that you have